I'm going to make a documentary video essay of my performance. I've recorded 3 different camera views and 1 stereo close-up mic recording. I'm going to start by editing my audio recording. I'll use Logic Pro. I'll create a new empty project and drag my sound file into the session, and I'll double-click it to open up the single file editor, switch from track to file mode, and use the normalizing function to maximize our levels. Then I'll go back to the mixer section and put a limiter on the end of my signal path. What it does is turn the volume down briefly for those loud transient attacks while allowing the softer parts of the recording to be as loud as they can be. So I want to turn up the gain just enough so I can see the reduction feature working a little bit just at the loudest attacks. Then I'll see what I can do with some filters. I might want to boost high frequencies to make it more crisp or clear. But if I have some high frequency hiss, I may want to cut those high frequencies instead. Low frequencies, if I have a rumble or boominess, I may want to reduce those. Otherwise, I may want to boost them for fullness. In this case, I'm going to boost some mid-range frequencies, so it doesn't sound quite so thin. It can be warmer and sonorous. And I think I'll boost the high frequencies a little bit too. You also might make a boost in the high-mid frequencies to help speech be heard more clearly. Or if there's a grating sound in your recording, you might cut that mid-high frequency range instead. So finally, I'm going to output this recording using the bounce feature, using a full quality data format. Not using lossy compression like MP3s. I'll let it normalize it again for me just in case. It'll record it as a WAV or AIF file, full quality, at 48,000 samples per second, which was appropriate for video. And I'll click bounce, and then I'll have my audio file. Notice that I didn't cut any time out of this track. I want to keep it intact so that it makes it easier to synchronize my files with the video. So I'm going to switch to a video editor, in this case Premiere, create a new project. And this is a very important moment in the life of a project where we give it a descriptive name and we set a folder where we can find our project again later. Now, most video editors have an area that might be called a bin. It's where the media is stored so that we can bring them into the project and arrange them. In this case, that area is the lower left corner of the screen, so I'll drag my files in. 3 video files and 1 edited audio file. And I'm going to show you 2 different approaches to synchronizing and editing this multi-camera sequence. For the first approach, I'm going to drag each of my tracks into the timeline window. Maybe I'll make the center camera in the center track, the left camera on top, right camera on the bottom. And notice there's a video track and an audio track for each of these files. We're just going to use the audio tracks for the purpose of synchronization, and then ultimately we'll listen to the audio-only track that we've edited. To make room for it, I need to right-click in just the right area so I can add a new track. I don't need any more video tracks, just 1 more audio track. There it is. Now I can drag in my edited audio. And then I can click to select everything and right-click and pick the synchronize feature. But I want to have it synchronize using the audio tracks. Now it's a good idea to find a moment where I slated the recording, hopefully, or some other moment with very distinct motions and attacks where I can zoom in and check very closely to see if it did a good job at synchronizing. I can see my 3 claps right there very clearly in each of the audio tracks, and they line up nicely. From there, you could go about chopping up each of those video tracks so that only one is visible at a time, and do your multi-camera editing that way. Now let me back up and show you a different way to do a multi-camera edit. I'm starting with a blank session again, and I'll drag in my video files and my audio file. And inside the bin here, I'll highlight them all, right-click, and select to create a multi-camera sequence. Here it'll do the synchronization. I want to make sure it's using the audio tracks to sync. And now you see it's made one entry into the bin. That is my multi-camera edit. So I can drag that into the timeline, and I can view that in the program window, but I want to change the program monitor window so that it's in multi-camera mode. Now you can see on the left side is each of my camera views, and on the right side is what's going to be the final output after my edit decisions. So I can just play through my performance and click the different views on the left to make them appear on the right. And these are my camera change decisions. It's okay to be rough at this point. In our next steps, we're going to go back over them and make adjustments as needed. You can see that Premiere has recorded all the different cuts and made them for me as I clicked the different source cameras in real time. At this stage, the rolling edit tool is very helpful. It leaves the clips in place and just changes the point where it changes from one clip to the next. You may want to change your cuts so that they happen in rhythm with what's going on in the content, or to break up some dead space, or you might find one sweeping motion and make the cut so that it happens right in the middle of that motion. So we see the beginning of the motion in one camera, the end of the motion in another camera. After I have my adjustments made, I can apply transitions to each of them. It's most efficient to go to the preferences and change the default transition time, measured in frames. Then I can select all the clips and apply the same video transition to all of them at the same time. And if I find that I wanted a different transition time, I can simply use the undo function, go back to preferences and set a new default transition time, select all the clips again, and apply the default transition to each of them. Then if there are individual spots I want to be handled differently, I can click directly on those transitions and either change their time or delete them and replace them with other transitions. Now's a good time to trim the beginning and ending of the video as well. If I want to zoom in on any of my shots, I'll click to select that clip, and then I'll look for the Effect Controls window. Under the Motion section of it, I can adjust the scale and the position. Next, it's time to add titles. This is where we put text in our video essay. I'm going to create a still title, and this first one is going to be a full screen title card. So I'll move the playhead to a spot where there's no video playing. I'll use the text tool to create some text boxes, and I'll enter my name and a title. I don't see my tools, so I'll look under the window menu, or in this case, the corner pop-up menu, and bring up my toolbar. Now I can select some text and change the font size. And then I can use the various arranging functions to make it look good. Next, I'm going to make a lower third title. That's where text shows up on the bottom portion of the screen, while we see the video content in the rest of the screen. I'll be sure to give it a good descriptive name, and I'll find a representative spot in the video to show up in the background. I'll make a text box and add my text. It's a good idea to write out your text beforehand, so when you make your first lower third title, you can paste in your longest segment of text and adjust the font size and the formatting so that you know that one will fit. Then you can go back and create them in order and have the same formatting for each of them. The video content is busy at the bottom of the screen, so to help with legibility, I'm going to create a box at the bottom of the screen. I'll bring up the properties window. I'll change the color to black. I'll change how opaque it is. And then I'll use the arrange functions to send it behind the text. Now that I have one title card created, I can create other lower third titles based on this same formatting. All I need to do is give it a new name and then change the text. When I finish making all my titles, they'll appear in the bin. Then I can drag them into place on the timeline where I want them to appear. Then, as before, I can add fade-ins and fade-outs. I probably want these to fade in and out a little more slowly, so I'll set a different default time. Then I'll select all my title clips and apply the same default transition time to them. This is a good time to check your work and make sure everything fits just right. Now I'm ready to export my movie. Since my video is in full HD and I'm going to be uploading it to YouTube, I'll use the YouTube HD preset with 1080 lines of resolution at 30 frames per second. Now this is important. This is the spot where we pick a descriptive name for the file we're going to create and put it in a folder where we can be sure to find it again. Then I can click export if I'm all done with my video work, or if I want to do more video clips in Premiere, I can click Q, and this will open up the Adobe Media Encoder, and it will allow me to render the video in the background while I go back to Premiere and create more video clips. Now you should take the time to open up your exported video in an ordinary video player and make sure it looks just right. Next, I'm going to go to YouTube and log in if I'm not logged in already. I'll click the upload button, drag in my new video file, and oops, I accidentally hit private for the setting here. I had to go back and change it to unlisted later. Private means that only I would be able to see it. Unlisted means that anyone can see it, but only where I put the link. And so anyone will be able to see it, but only through my portfolio weblog. For maximum visibility, it would be best to set that to public for anything that's your best work that you want someone to discover. To maximize discoverability through YouTube, I'm going to give it a good descriptive title line. I'll add some more detailed text, and I'll give it as many relevant keywords as I can think of. Don't forget to pick a compelling thumbnail image for your video. Then you can click Done and open up your new video link through YouTube. For embedding in our web portfolio, we just need the youtube.com URL and the identifier for this video. Then I'll open up the dashboard of my web portfolio. In this case, it's using the WordPress platform. I'll create a new post. I'll give it a descriptive title, but since this is my portfolio site, I don't need to enter my name. I'll just use the title and then a descriptive line following it. I'll enter some body text, and then most importantly, I'll paste in that plain youtube.com URL. And if I do it right with no extraneous formatting on that link, then WordPress should automatically replace it with my video embedded inside the post. Don't make it any kind of hyperlink or part of a list. Finally, open up your post the way your audience might see it. Make sure it looks the way it should. Test the video, make sure it looks right. And there's your first portfolio entry.